Cool.
We have two great guests today. We have Shawn Francisco, aka Shawn French, and Steve Marco, half of the Polo Brothers.
Wow. I thought you stopped that bit where you said our guests' names wrong.
No, it's never been a bit. It's always been accidental.
Our guests, Shawn French and Steve Mardo, are two professional comic book creators.
Oh, I said it wrong. I didn't
and...
even realize I said it wrong. I actually thought I got it right that time.
Okay. Yeah, no, you said it wrong.
I said it
and
wrong.
Then you went on like you didn't say it wrong.
I thought I got it right.
You did not. You got the first one right and the second one wrong. Right,
no, I
Steve?
got them both wrong. I called him Shawn Francisco. His name's Shawn French.
So, how are you guys?
Doing well, thank you.
Yeah, they didn't leave.
Much better than the intro.
Yeah, yeah. I was overconfident. That ended up being the worst one. You guys are coming out with a new comic called Tales from the Fantastical Crimes Unit. It's connected to Epic Tavern, which is a video game. So my first question, obviously, is how are you guys connected to the video game company? That is that game out yet? It's in early release, right?
Yeah, Epic Tavern is made by Hyperkinetic Studios. It's in early access on Steam and anywhere else you get PC games. I've been the lead writer of Epic Tavern for the last 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So I've been writing stories in the story world for a long time now. And we've just had built up this giant mountain of narrative content. And on the side, I've been editing comics for the Black Caravan imprint through Scout Comics. So I edited a whole bunch of comics through them, and I kind of saw that some of those books were performing well, and there was kind of a good opportunity, and I already had a foot in the door there. So doing an adaptation of the game that I was already writing, it just seemed like just a perfect opportunity.
Wow, that's great.
That's really cool.
Yeah, you can see when I was reading it, I even thought like the first, like that big spread with all the creatures felt like sort of this video game atmosphere where like you go on to the server, and there's all those, like everyone else's avatar is there, that's kind of what it looks like. Right, Eric?
Yeah, like the loading screen before like your epic game starts or your massive fighting. Where you're just punch each other in the face, or everyone's got the swords out, they're hitting each other for unlimited damage because you can't die.
Yeah, and how many characters are in that Double Splash, Steve?
There's about 150 characters.
Oh, wow.
In that, which started off as probably maybe 50 characters, I think, and then I just kind of randomly kept drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing.
Well, I think the script mentioned like 11.
Yeah, the script mentioned 11.
And then you just went crazy. And just like, well, I'm going to have 2 pages, so I'm just going to go nuts and fill the lobby scene and kind of turn it into this kind of Men in Blackish sort of madness.
Oh,
Time to go above and beyond. Yeah, I definitely see the Men in Black.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's an awesome connection.
How did
that? Yeah.
How did you two guys meet, and start working together too?
Well, we met. Oh, you want to go?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, we met. Actually, we've never actually physically met. We've been doing this online. We've been, messaging each other. But we originally met through Joe Schmalke, who writes Electric Black and draws Electric Black. He also does Murder Hobo, a bunch of other. He's basically one of the publishers for Black Caravan. Shawn's known. I think Shawn, you've known him for a long time, right?
Yes. Yeah, I've been editing all this stuff for quite a while. Yeah. And he recommended Steve.
And I know Joe for a few years.
Yeah, when we decided, when I first started talking about Joe about the possibility of doing an Epic Tavern comic, Steve Mardo was the first person he recommended. And I went and started looking at his stuff, and there was a piece that Steve had done with Steve Levine. Steve Levine had colored it, and I just loved the look of it so much, and the way that their inks and colors played together. I just thought it was wonderful. But because I'm working for this game studio and I have to go back to them with, having done due diligence, that was like the first thing I saw that I loved. I'm like, well, that's the look I want. And then I spent like 7 weeks researching other artists just so I could, bring back and okay, well, there's different things, and it ultimately came back to what I knew from the start,
Wow, cool.
and it's turned out great.
Actually,
Your
what
artwork
you
is
did,
just gorgeous in this book, dude.
what you didn't know is that Shawn picked like the worst artist he could possibly find. He was like people with crayons and stuff, and he was just like, "This is the guy," and everyone's like, "What?" And I'm like,
Dude, I assume he does what everyone does, the blind dart method, where they close their eyes,
Yeah.
with a dart on the wall. Landed on Steve.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he just found like clip art from like on Google and was like, "This is the guy we got to hire." And they were like, "Nah, Shawn, are you okay?" And then Shawn, it was his whole ploy.
That guy on Fiverr who takes pictures and then converts it to the line art. Yeah.
Yep.
That's your comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was busy, unfortunately. So we called Steve, and now
He was busy. He was too busy. He's like, I can't. I got all these photos. I gotta.
Halloween's
get
coming.
over.
It's a busy season.
You fit
I
the
went
budget.
to all the middle schools, and all the kids said no, so I had to go with
Yep.
Steve.
Well, a lot of them are closed with COVID, so
Yeah.
the art programs you can't get the middle school kids like you normally could.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The internship,
Exactly.
the unpaid internship.
It rolled downhill.
It's for college credits. It's for college credits.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
yeah,
God.
when you're in third grade, it's for college credits.
Yeah.
No, but thank you, Shawn. We when we connected too, I've said this on some other things too, is that I'm a big fan of like comedy and stuff like that, and I like serious comics and stuff like that, but I tend to go more towards the goofy stuff. And one of the things that when Shawn did this really brilliant thing when he was describing the characters, he would write a little blurb about them, but then he little pictures like for reference. And one of the main character of Victor Marshall, he put a picture of Frank Drebin from the Naked Gun and Police Squad. And when he did that, I was like, oh, okay, Leslie Nielsen, I get it. Like
Yeah.
I get where this is going and like how this is going to be. This is going to be some sort of, even though it does have its very serious moments and it has like its heart-wrenching moments, it's got this little goofy quest in it that's actually that really kind of stuck with me, especially after I read it. And the script is amazing, and what they've done with all the characters is I'm glad I could just like be in sync with them, because I know that can be very, very tough when working on a project. I mean, I think as artists and writers and everything, we've always worked on projects and we kind of wanted to, wholeheartedly go into the project. But then as you kind of go down that rabbit hole, you're kind of like, maybe this isn't. This just hit the nail on the head, and I don't know. They everything about this was something that I didn't even know I wanted to do, and it's just been amazing.
Well, I think there's something inherently funny about a character who is just determined to be deadly serious in a situation that's just chaos and bedlam, and they just like won't acknowledge it. They're trying to, like Victor Marshall, the lead detective in the story, is trying so hard to be this cool noir detective.
Yeah.
But everything around him is just bedlam, and it's just such a fun place to kind of, story space to play in.
Yeah, it reminds me of like an old Cracked bit, like one of those old Cracked cart, like where they like the very serious comics, but like there's a specific one where like it's like this guy is like going to work, but like around him like all these action scenes happening. I don't know if you guys probably don't know.
I know. I was a big Cracked and Mad fan growing up, and
Mad especially for me.
A lot of that stuff was just like I love when they used to do the parodies of the movies and stuff like that. That was just like, for me, that was like, oh man, these guys can draw anybody, and they're drawing like Michael Keaton being Batman, but he's like, I forgot what it was, and it was just like, he's doing dumb stuff and smashing into walls. But yeah, no, and but we definitely have our little moments in there, and I know that Shawn and everybody, and they all kind of gut that I put in the book, because there's quite a bit of them. And I was kind of like, I wonder if they're gonna like, let me do this stuff. And
Steve, hold on. You're kind of cutting in and out.
Cut a little bit out now.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Could you say that one again?
Oh yeah, sorry. So what I was gonna say is basically when we were doing this, I put a lot of gags just on my own in there, and I was just hoping that they would kind of like them and gravitate towards them, towards the kind of humor that I was putting in there. And Shawn definitely was like, "Yep, we're keeping that. That's going in there." It was like, "Oh, I can take that out if you want to," and they're like, "No, we'll put that in." So, we did that, and I think that's what kind of makes this book pretty special, is that I think we both kind of are on that same wavelength with this story.
So that brings me to Shawn. You've been writing for a video game. Is this like directly tied to the game, or is it sort of loosely based on the same world?
Yeah, it's not a straight adaptation, because while running a medieval tavern is a great setup for a video game, not a great premise for a comic. So we didn't want to do a straight adaptation. We also didn't want to do something where you had to know about the game to enjoy the comic. We wanted it to completely be its own thing.
Okay.
So basically what I did is, we had 160 playable heroes for Epic Tavern, and hundreds of quests and thousands of encounters and everything. And I just kind of sorted through it and built something new out of the pieces. So anybody who's played the game is going to recognize the locations, going to recognize all the characters and that kind of stuff.
Cool.
But it's not a direct translation of anything from Epic Tavern. It's a brand new thing built out of a lot of the same pieces.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense, because at the end of the ash can that you sent us, it was, there's the link to the game. And I was like, the game does not look or like feel anything like the noir comic that we just read with all these characters. But it's cool that they're like connected in the world,
Right.
Yeah. That's like really cool world building.
And then we've loved that the Steve's art so much that one of the things we're looking into doing now is bringing some of his artwork directly into the game as well, whether it'll be like a pop-up to introduce, because now we've got we have location artwork.
Oh, cool.
We have artwork of all these characters and stuff, so we're going to find some ways to use some of the comic book panels in the game.
Wow, that's cool.
Very cool.
So also Shawn, you wrote this as like kind of this hard-nosed film noir, characters, inner dialogue. I mean, it's almost cookie cutter, which is cool because people do this with film noir a lot. They like introduce there was that new movie that just came out with I forget the actor, but it was not very good, but it took place in the future and with the floods and everything. Did you see it on HBO? Anyone? Bueller? No.
Not sure.
No. Okay. I'll look it up while I'm talking.
Ferris Bueller 2049.
Yeah, no.
Is that it? Oh no, okay.
But it's like let me get to the question, I guess. What is your connection to film noir and or like that kind of character and like how did you come to that inspiration for this comic?
The direct inspiration for Victor Marshall and the kind of the vibe of the story are the Philip Marlowe, the HBO series with Powers Booth from the 80s. I watched that as a kid. For some strange reason, it was just always on. So I have these very vivid memories. And as I started writing the script, I went back and would just have those kind of looping in the background while I was writing to get a feel for because it's a very particular rhythm to the speech patterns. And Victor Marshall very closely kind of follows the speech patterns of a Philip Marlowe. And then the other big influence was the Naked Gun Police Squad, the Frank Drebin, which is again just a character who's just trying so hard to be the deadly serious hero and just
don't call me Shirley.
Yes. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, and really, I think it was just that the reason we ended up on that one is that of all the storylines in Epic Tavern, it was the one that lent itself best to a comic. into a monster of the week, where every issue is one case that you tell start to finish. You could really, pick up any issue in any order and get a complete story. Which I think was an important thing to do with a comic. You certainly have more flexibility there than if it's a running series, because then if something goes wrong with it, you don't get to reach the end of it, then it's an unsatisfying experience. But if you make each one of them its own, its own experience, start to finish, then however many you end up making is the right amount.
Yeah, and the more and more I was working on the book too, I just fell in love with the script and the characters. Like, I didn't know really anything about the game before I jumped on, and they gave me like a little pass to play the game, and I started playing it, and I was like, oh, this is really fun. Like, this is a really, really fun game. And then when I got the script from Shawn, it was like, oh, I'm all in, because like, I get where they're going. I get this world. I get, the script was just, I thought it was very, very funny and very amazing for what for all the information that's in there, and how Shawn kind of chops it up, very digestible. And I think that can be tough, because either, I noticed in a lot of comic books lately, you're either like the slow burn, or you're, wrapping it up in like 20 pages. And with Shawn, he's got, it's that monster of the week kind of thing, but there's so much more to it, and it leads into other things, which I'm sure, when the book comes out, people will see that.
Yeah, well, avoiding the trap of a slow first issue was a really important thing to me.
Yeah.
And in my last series, Escape from Jesus Island, there was so much backstory that we had to convey that it was really like, we ended up doing, the first issue was just a kind of cold open story to establish the location. And then the second issue, like 9 pages at the beginning, was kind of this Douglas Adams in the beginning sort of, sprawl that covered 2,000 years of backstory before leading up. So it took like an issue and a half to even get into the main story.
Oh, wow.
So I swore I wasn't going to do that again. We were just going to jump in and, have a story ready to go, and, and have it be a satisfying start to finish right in the first issue.
Yeah. Yeah, it does that. It's off to a great start. I mean, like, when you,
thank you.
And I think because you framed it as a film noir, I was comfortable in the story. Like, even though it was all this craziness happening around him, like, that frame gives the reader, at least for me, it gave me like a safety net, kind of knowing what was happening and what was gonna come. Eric, what'd you think?
I thought that you definitely just like open up right away. Like, you literally open up into this entire new world, because you go from like medieval poor time with people singing or playing instruments in the background, and then the first thing he does is he opens these doors, and you see like this crazy world: a girl flying on a carpet, a man mooning while holding a balloon. I mean, like, just this crazy world. Like, all right, this is not what I was expecting, but it's awesome nonetheless. Really cool, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. And he just kind of keeps on going.
Reminiscence. It had Hugh Jackman. Did anyone see that?
I did not see that film.
And it was.
I heard it was terrible.
That's why I did not see that film.
It's really bad. I didn't finish it. But it.
So why would you bring it up to us? Hey, this horrible film, this horrible idea? Doesn't that sound great? It doesn't.
I mean, one thing, what was interesting was the world in that film. The world was really, really well built and well crafted, and like had an interesting, like, they don't go out during the day. They do everything at night, because the sun is too hot. And, it was just well done. That was well done. And the train goes like over tracks, but the tracks are like covered in water. That was cool.
Really?
Yeah.
How was your guys like back and forth about working on this? Because as Shawn said earlier, you were chosen by Dartboard and Lee and Phyllis in middle school. So like, how was it? Like, I'm sure compared to other stuff you worked on, because you guys have both worked on comics separately. Was it different than anything else, or was it done better?
It was kind of like the Hugh Jackman movie, Reminiscent.
Where, exactly like that.
It was done with water.
where we had to walk on train tracks in water. No, Shawn, you wanna start this off because you seem to. It all starts with Shawn.
Yeah, I mean, I think our relationship in terms of the back and forth in the way that we work, I think we're much looser than a lot of writer-artist combinations. My scripts are very loose. He always has free reign to redo the panels any way he wants.
Oh.
As long as the beats of the story are there, as long as I can do the moments that are key, however he wants to break down the page, he'll do. And then I do extensive rewrites as soon as the art comes in anyway. I do placeholder letters on the page.
Oh.
And I'll spend weeks just moving words around on the page and fine tuning and tweaking stuff. So I'm completely fine with if the pages come back differently than the way that I'd broken down. And we get so much good out of that because Steve has a great eye for pacing and how to do things in a visual way, and that's not my area of expertise. That's his. So I try and give him as much creative control over the visual aspects as possible, and that seems to work well for both of us.
Yeah, and I think too, it's just the fact that we just have that. I think our minds with this are just set, like are linked. It's really weird. It's
right
really
out of the
weird.
gate.
Yeah, right out of the gate. Like when I first started talking to Shawn, I was just like, okay, like I get this guy. I feel like I've known him for a while now. Like even though I've only been talking to him for like 15 minutes or whatever, and everything just clicked. And then from there, I would send him little notes or I would send him little drawings and stuff like that, and he would be like, yep, that's exactly how I kind of pictured it, or he'd say, oh well, I pictured it another way, but this one works better. And
there was a lot of that actually.
Yeah. And I was just really happy that we could work like that together, because I know sometimes it can be a writer can have a different visual narrative than an artist. And I think that sometimes you get people who they want as a writer, and I get it, like it's almost like a dream. You want to have everything in there, but when you put it on a piece of paper, it's a totally different animal. You can't, you have to kind of weed out the things that don't matter, and which is kind of looking at my artwork doesn't really make too much sense, but it doesn't.
You didn't leave a whole lot of that.
Like the whole kitchen sink in there.
Right there.
Yeah, I put the kitchen sink in there, but I think storytelling wise, we really hit it off, and man, it's been like I really can't say how it's just been this awesome experience. Even like with Steve Levine, who's our colorist. He's one of the original Ninja Turtle He is the original Ninja Turtle colorist.
Oh, cool.
And he is, he's just a great guy. And he just kind of went in there, did his thing, and it came together. And we also have an amazing letterer, Rob Jones.
Yeah, he's great.
Who's done work on books that I've done in the past, my own stuff that I published. And it's funny how people are like, it's really tough to find a good letterer and stuff like that, and how it's an art form. And when you start looking at books, it really is.
Yeah. And
he's just such a great designer, and he just, just a solid dude, and just amazing
in terms
work.
Of like, improvement in the look of your book per dollar spent, you can't do much better than hiring a good letterist. I mean, It's not super expensive, and it drastically changes. There's so many people who just letter their own books because it's, and I do, I like I said, when pages come in, I've got a lettering program, and I go and I make my own there, but then I throw them away and have the real person do it when I'm done. I don't show those to people.
I've lettered my own books in the past because I was just like, oh, well, I can do it. It's easy. All you do is just put a balloon here and blah, blah, blah. And then you go and you're like, wow, this looks like garbage. Like, I suck. And then, and once you get somebody who really knows what they're doing, I think, they are totally once you get a good letter, you have to keep them, so that's my advice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ross
I,
would be
I,
great.
the same thing
Highly
happened.
recommend Rob.
And wants to let her.
Yeah, same thing happened to
Well,
me.
just-
I am a graphic designer as well, and like tried the letter and ended up paying someone. So wait,
just
so
like now.
I did have a question. You guys are both very experienced in comic books. How did this project differ working together creatively, or just your own personal side, like the art or the writing? Like, how did it differ from like your first project?
It helped that I wasn't completely clueless this time. That was nice. The first comic that I wrote was also the first comic that I'd ever worked on.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but one might say you were not a dumb comic creator.
I wasn't even to that point yet. I didn't know anything. The artist of Escape from Jesus Island really had to carry me through that entire process.
Oh.
He was more experienced, Mortimer Glum, whose artwork is amazing. So I was kind of, providing what he would need to draw it and then kind of learning the process to go. That was 10 years ago when we did that first one, when we did Jesus Island. And in that time since then, I've edited probably 150 comics.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had some time to kind of study the medium now and get a feel for how it actually works. And that has certainly made it much better. I think Steve has had to do less bailing out of my scripts than Mortimer did, certainly.
No, I think that the script that the great thing too, I think, is that the guys at the other people at Hyperkinetic also kind of, you have a couple of other eyes on it. And that's what also I think helps out a lot, because you have other people who are visual, who are game creators kind of helping you out in that sense. But what you sent to me was just pure gold. I know in my experiences, I spent a lot of years in art school, trying to figure out a lot of things. And I tried to, I was one of those people that when I was, a teenager, I was like, oh, I'm going to work for Marvel and blah, 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 because I'm so good. And I wasn't, and I sucked. And it took a lot of just learning and doing. And I had some really amazing instructors who helped me with my visual narrative language. I had guys that, were editors. I went to School of Visual Arts for a little while, and I ended up getting my bachelor's in illustration at Mass Art in Boston.
Mass Art. Oh, cool.
But I had when I was at School of Visual Arts, I had some guys that were editors for Marvel and artists and stuff like that, and they were practicing cartoonists, and that was just amazing, like the stuff that I learned, because you realize just how much suck. and you kind of have to let that sink in and say, well, I have to get better. And I've always been somebody who's tried really hard to be good at my craft. Like if I always said, if I'm going to do this for a living, I want to try to be as good as I can be at it. So, it only took about 20 years to get there, but
there's still hope.
Me both. My first full-time job writing video games, which was my childhood dream, came at age 45.
There you go.
And you mentioned, Steve, I think a good point about, how you, when you were younger, kind of wanting to work for Marvel and not kind of realizing that you weren't, there yet. Man, that is such a big thing when I look back at, my early 20s and when I felt like I had no opportunities as a writer. And I go back and I read that old work and I'm like, oh, I just wasn't good yet. There was no lack of opportunities. I just didn't have the skill set yet.
I was bad.
I didn't know how to write. So that's probably why I couldn't get work writing.
Yeah. The other thing is too, is that now that I found my voice, so to critique as an artist and the style that and stuff. I realized that maybe my stuff isn't quite the house style kind of stuff. It's a little left field, and
Right.
I'm happy with that. I don't want to change my stuff up to look like another artist. I'm glad it's kind of weird and out there, and and I'm glad that there's projects like this that come up, and I can kind of showcase that stuff. I think this is the best. This is one of the best projects I've ever had, because I get to just go crazy and draw hundreds of odd, weird, sometimes disgusting things. Not in bad ways. But like I mean, I have in that giant spread, there's like a golem type character who's riding a jellyfish. I mean, that's the kind
So
of
much
stuff I
good
love.
stuff in that lobby scene. It's great.
Is that
Uh,
how
But
big?
yeah,
Did you draw that by hand or do you draw digitally? Oh, Steve, you kind of froze.
I do a little bit of both. I do a lot of. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, start
Mine.
again. Sorry.
you're good now.
Am I back? Okay, sorry. You're gonna have to cut this up a lot, huh?
Not too bad. Yeah.
I I do a little bit of both. I do a lot of my stuff, my layouts and stuff digitally,
Okay.
and I use a lot of reference and stuff like that too. There's tons of pictures of me just in weird poses and stuff. So if I ever die and people see my iPad, it's just me. I'm just like making
They unlock and
weird
it's just
faces.
like, oh
Yeah, it's just weird faces and
Or
but
like they don't check, and like at your funeral, it's like the slideshow is just like your eye photos, and it's just just
it's my
repeated.
iCloud photos. Me like holding like paper.
As Steve
empty-
wanted to be remembered.
Yep. holding up my daughter's like Nerf baseball bat, pretending to like kill somebody. Yeah, no. That's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that lobby scene was like 44 by 34 inches is the original.
So yeah, what I was gonna say was, so I do that, and then I print it all blue line on a piece of paper. I ink everything traditionally. But we were trying to do it. I was trying to do it as like a double spread, and me and Shawn were looking at it, and we were just like, "This is good, but it's not. Something's missing. Like all that detail is missing." So, we kind of shut it. We ended up talking.
Steve, sorry,
And-
you're cutting out again.
Jeez, wow. I'm sorry about this, guys. So what ended up happening was Shawn was like, yeah, we need to make this. This is going to be this big spread. We want to have all these characters in it. We need to make this like a very large image. So we ended up making it, it's 8 by 17 boards. So I wish I had the actual thing. So it basically takes up one of the walls of my studio when I was drawing it. And I kept showing Shawn the pictures of it. And it was just amazing.
Wow.
That they let us do that. And that's something too. Hyperkinetic has been so amazingly like all this. Of course, everyone has little things that we have to change here and there, but they have been such an amazing entity to work for on top of the Black Caravan, because they're just like, yeah, you want to do that? Let's do it. Let's make this big giant thing. And we'll, at some point we're probably going to make like, prints of it and stuff like that, and hopefully sell them at shows and things like that. But yeah, it's
jigsaw puzzles.
Yeah. Shawn's already embarked on a jigsaw puzzle. But it's so, they've been so supportive of everything that me and Shawn have done. And so, but I usually work half digital, half traditional. I like having a physical page too. It's just maybe me being old school or whatever, but I like to have that nice original page that's like, freshly inked.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah, well, what's good about Hyperkinetic is they're a small game studio, but they were founded by senior designers at Treyarch, who did like the PlayStation 2 era Spider-Man games.
Okay.
So they've all worked in the big studio crunch system that, you know, grinds people down to dust and brings in the next batch, you know, with the average career length is like 3.5 years. It's like lower than the NFL, and because they just smash you into paste. But because they've been through that and they didn't enjoy it, they went and started their own studio where they get to run things right and actually treat people well. And, you know, and that's kind of like there's like a sweet spot in video games because it's kind of a famously rough industry.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of small to mid-sized studios founded by people who got sick of the big system. And they, if anything, go too far in the other direction of trying to make it a good place to work. You know, so they're kind of unreasonably awesome. And Hyperkinetic is one of those.
It's like, could you give me some direction? Do you mind if I come to work today?
They've been awesome. They've been awesome. Even I've had some back and forth with other people in the studio. And they've just been, I mean, there is just brilliant. They really know what they're doing, and they're such kind people. And it's just been really this experience, even with Black Caravan too, and all the stuff they're coming out with. They've hit a tone too where they are just running with it, and it's like a home run after home run after home run. So I think, you know, those two teaming up was just like a no-brainer.
Yeah, well, Black Caravan's figured out something with the comic market, and this is the real issue, is that it's, especially in indie comics, it's very hard to make money on a $4 book. But what Black Caravan has kind of figured out and got down to a science now is that through store exclusive variant covers, if you can get, you know, like we're launching with 10 different covers that, you know, certain stores will be the only place to get them. You can have almost enough sales to get yourself into the black before you even go on sale. Oh, cool. So they've actually found a way that as long as you can find some stores that are interested in your title and want to, you know, get 250, 350 copies of something that they commission the artist, and they're the only place to get it, then you can really kind of hit the ground running and not have to have the risk that you got to fall on your face and lose a bunch of money, because you can really mitigate that through those sort of variant deals. And that was the opportunity that kind of called to me and made me bring this to the studio, is that I kind of saw what they were doing there, and some of their books are launching with like 20 covers, which is crazy, you know? Yeah. So like even coordinating 10 was
and those
a
are
big production.
Those are with different artists drawing the covers.
Yeah, okay. You know, those are all different artists. Usually what happens is stores will have an artist that they've worked with before, you know, that they kind of go to. Usually it's someone local who can come in for signings. So most of the stores that we talked with, you know, had someone in mind. We ended up getting Scott Koblish from Deadpool and a million other things to do a variant cover just for Hyperkinetic Studios, that we're going to be the only ones who have that one, because we just wanted to kind of have one of our own as well, just because it's cool. Yes, I mean, it's just, you know, that's been one of the big appeals of Scout and Black Caravan.
I'm curious. Do they know the artists, and then they kind of like pitch the shops on which artists they could get, or is it up to you guys as the creators of the book, or are they kind of behind the scenes on that?
Yeah, we'll usually reach out to a store. What we found with this time through it anyway is that most of the stores responded with, "Oh, I'll have this artist do something." That's the usual process they have. Is they'll have, you know, they'll sort of know who they want to go with. The store will know who they want to go with.
Oh, interesting.
I thought there was going to be more of kind of trying to line people up and pitch them the right style, but most of the stores knew who they want. You know, they've got someone that usually, you know, that does 4 or 5 covers a year for them for different titles and stuff, and they've already got a good relationship with them. And
oh, cool.
So yeah, a lot of the process kind of runs itself, you know, because the stores have done a bunch of these variant covers. They're savvy with how it works. They have a relationship with Black Caravan. So if you can create something, you know, that looks appealing to them, and it's coming out through an imprint that they've worked with before, it's not a tough sell, you know.
And is that on Kickstarter then, or is that just to the comic shops?
No, they just sell them directly through the stores.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Okay. I did not know that.
It- And the other thing is that like one of the things that I really love is that how they really put out quality books. You know what I mean? Like I think they've kind of had this buzz around them with a lot of the titles that they have coming out, but it's not like this flash in the pan kind of thing. It's like, Joe and Rich, who were kind of heading the Black Caravan label, they really want quality stories and good art and stuff like that. And we've been lucky enough to know them and kind of work on this project. But I think it's one of those things that they're not looking to just kind of do this and then get some variants and whatever. They want these books to
Be good
be
books.
really be good books that people are going to want to read and they're going to want to stick to. And I think they've really been doing that, and that's another appealing thing to the Black Caravan imprint, is that it's a quality product you're getting. You're not just getting like, oh well, we know this guy who kind of has a Superman wannabe guy, and it could work. Let's try it.
He's
It's
invincible, right? He's invincible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's
And they
invincible
reject a lot of
guy.
good titles. I edit for Black Caravan and have been since they started. And I see sometimes they'll send me over, some of the pitches they get, the book they're considering. And I'm like, well, of course they're going to take it. Like, no, so they try to limit themselves to, I think 2 new number ones per quarter or something like that. They've got like kind of a strict limit on how quickly they expand, which is good too.
Yeah.
Because if they oversaturate,
question.
then suddenly each of those titles can't get the variant deals with stores, and now they all start suffering, and this kind of great situation right now gets too dispersed and stops being a good scene. But right now, it's a good setup.
That's my next question. Are you guys already working on book 2? Yeah. Are you on a monthly, or is it like quarterly, or do you have like timelines, or like a big publishing company might expect, or is this kind of
well, we do have a story arc for this. Okay. Shawn's definitely got a story arc for this, and I literally actually just before we started this, I actually sent him over layouts for a good portion of the second issue. Okay. So we are on our way, and we had to do like some new character designs for some new characters that are going to be in the second the second issue. I'm very excited for the second issue. I mean,
yeah, me too.
The first one isn't out yet. But,
I mean, that's like the nature of the industry, is like you're always working on the next thing that
and the
second issue is more of a direct adaptation of an Epic Tavern quest, and it's one that just lends itself really well to a comic. It's where the agents are sent inside a nightmare to stop an assassin who's killing agents in their sleep. So much of the actual issue takes place inside a nightmare of the captain of the Fantastical Crimes Unit, while another assassin is in there trying to kill them.
Oh, cool.
So you're giving too much away, Shawn.
There's so much good visual fodder to work with there. I just can't wait to see it.
He's like, and by the way, in issue 3, this is going to happen.
They all die.
And here's the twist that no one saw coming.
Yeah. That's the thing that's really gonna make it separate from everybody else. Is this blah 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 blah, and then Thanks, Shawn. Thanks a lot, Shawn. Come on. No.
But was it different, like, to write? Like, obviously it's different, but like, is it harder or easier, just different, to write for a video game storyline compared to a comic, or just? I compare apples to oranges.
Yeah, it's kind of like apples to yak. Yeah. Sort of. It's not even. They're not even. Yeah, they're different. There's. Well,
I've never heard that before.
With video games, it's not. It's not. In deciding how to adapt the game, it wasn't just deciding which characters and which storylines and everything, because in a video game there are infinite variations of every storyline too. So, like, one of the lead characters in the comic is Amelia Mortalis, who's a idealistic young necromancer who only reanimates animals. And she's kind of this great foil to Victor, and you know, annoys him with her sweet naivety and that sort of thing. But in the video game, if you fail when you meet Amelia to befriend her, she becomes one of the big bads. You know, so it's when you're writing a game, everything that can happen does. You write every eventuality. You write, you know, each character as the hero and as the villain and as the, you know, it's just a crazy web of possibilities and stuff. And the big thing with going to a comic was having to limit myself to one timeline.
Stick on the one.
Just do a single version of each character and a single set of things that happen after being used to games for so long. It's kind of in some ways limiting and in other ways liberating,
right,
because I don't have to solve every problem simultaneously.
Good question.
And hopefully I made it. Hopefully I made it a little easier for you too, with the narrative and throwing. I did throw a bunch of characters in there that now apparently are going to future issues that weren't before.
Oh yeah, there are definitely moments from the comics that I'm just straight up stealing and writing into the game. You know, I'm like, oh, this plays out better in the comic than it did in the game, so I'm just gonna rewrite that.
Oh, Steve, this is a great idea. I'm taking it, but it was a great idea.
Yeah, exactly. This is so good, it's mine now.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. This has been really interesting and a learning experience and fun. Your comic is really funny. I can't wait to read the whole thing.
Where can they find you guys, or our listeners?
You can look up, we're Tales from the Fantastical Crimes Unit has a Facebook fan page. Epic Tavern is on all the social media channels. We stream development on Epic Tavern on Twitch, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You can find us on there. We do a dev chat Thursdays on Discord. That is myself and Tomo Moriwaki, who is the creative director of Spider-Man 2. And we just sit for an hour and answer questions about game design with anybody who shows up. So if you have an interest in game design or writing or any sort of storytelling, that's a great opportunity to come in. It's a small group. It's usually only half dozen of us, and we just answer any questions you have. That's very cool. Where can people find you, Steve?
And I am at Steve Mardo Art on all of the wonderful social media platforms like Twitter and Instagram and now Facebook. So you can kind of check out my stuff there. I try my best to update, but a lot of Epic Tavern, the second issue, we're going to start putting out some of that work and some of the character designs in there very soon. So if there's a real book, check out my stuff and you can see some of the things to come.
And when does the book actually come out?
October 27th is the scheduled drop date.
Cool. Okay. Great. Well, yeah, thanks again. And good luck with the drop. Yeah. I want a poster. Honestly, I want a poster of that spread.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we're gonna, that's a priority for us. We're gonna try to do what we can and either put it up at, you know, I don't know how, if I could put it on my shop or through Scout or through Epic. I don't know. We'll figure out something.
We may do some of both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, bye.
Thanks.